And what's up, everybody? The Face Off Sports Network here with Anthony at the Real NFL Guru. I am Steve D'Angelo at Fantasy Savvy. We are back for Championship Sunday. Two gigantic matchups, one epic matchup, which will be the last game. But certainly a very, very good Sunday coming up of football as we wind down this 2024-2025 NFL season. It's been a long haul, and we've been going a long way, and we're going to keep going. So making the picks all year since week 2. Last week, guys, 6-0. I think Anthony was 3-2. Also did very good on the props. He also hit the Kelsey prop, but I had 6-0. I had was hitting pretty much everything. KC, Washington, the over in that game, the Rams, and also the Bills. So now 84, 78, and 1. 51.8%, still under that 52.5%, though, which you need to get over to cash. So we got 3 games left. So I'm going to have to throw in some over-unders here to get into over the 52.5%. So let's see if we can hit it, and then we'll be cashing 2 years in a row with this picks. And then Anthony's joined me the past couple of weeks, and we've been hitting a lot of different props. So we're going to get into the props. We'll get into the games very, very deep. Even though we only got 2, we'll talk about them in detail. So if you guys are watching on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, head over to our YouTube channel and give us a like, give us a subscribe. We got tons of stuff coming for you guys, tons of stuff in the past as well that you could check out. But make sure you're liking, subscribing, sharing, hitting that notification button. And then if you guys want to talk anything playoffs or anything fantasy or whatever you want to really talk about, feel free to jump in the chat. Hit us up. If you're feeling generous, throw us a super chat as well. Maybe we'll throw you a free jersey or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. All right. And any opening thoughts before we get into this Washington Philadelphia game on basically this weekend? Sunday's games rather.
Yeah, I think with the AFC, this is the matchup everybody wanted. Mahomes, Josh Allen, Josh Allen having an incredible year. A lot of people, including myself, counted Buffalo out early when they lost Diggs and the team didn't look like it had a lot of talent. And Josh Allen put the team on his back, got him now to Championship Sunday. We know Kansas City, what they're capable of, what's at stake for the Chiefs and the 3-peat and the history. And then in the NFC, I feel like, I was heavy on Detroit, thought that, hey, people talk about destiny and the Commanders. I thought destiny was the Detroit Lions, the way they were hammering teams all season long. The defense just was too much for them to overcome all of the injuries. I believe 18 players on IR going into last week's games. And we have the Commanders, a team that really came out of nowhere. I don't think they're that talented, but Jaden Daniels, he lifts that team up. It's almost like he's playing like their Josh Allen. He is their Superman. And then you have Philadelphia on the other side. Philly reminds me of Kansas City. They win ugly. We don't know how they win so many games, but they win. And, these two matchups, I don't know if we could have asked for anything better because I don't see a blowout in either game. I think these are going to be down to the wire in both conferences.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You could have said Lions-Eagles would have been a great game as well, but the Lions come up short, and really it was the turnovers. I mean, Goff had that fumble on their second drive. They were driving down the field. Then he throws that pick six. Gibbs was running completely all over them. I mean, they could not stop Gibbs. Laporta had that ridiculous catch. Jameson had that reverse touchdown with freaking Teddy Bridgewater in the game after Goff got popped after that pick six. And then Goff gets picked again by Sanders still, on that post route to Williams again. So those turnovers really killed him. But again, you're right. Jaden Daniels is just playing phenomenal. And their fourth down conversion rate has been, they just constantly go for it on fourth down, and they continue to get it over and over. I think Washington is very, very well deserved. We were kind of hoping for the name change to the Skins, but I mean, if they get to the Super Bowl, they might keep the Commanders now. Are they going to change it?
I mean, for history wise, I hope they do. actually liked the Washington football team. I
Yeah.
loved it. I love but whatever they go with, the Redskins obviously would be the way I would prefer it. I still wish the Chargers were in San Diego. We're both old school like that. I do want to say before we get into these games, that Lions game last week, Ben Johnson gets the head coaching job in Chicago. That was one of the worst play calls that he could have made. You throwing that ball in that situation with Jameson Williams.
Great point. That was I mean, the Lions have been doing that. They get a little
and they were driving.
Yeah. That was another turnover. I forgot about that. Well, that was 4 turnovers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, I hate to discount David Montgomery because he has a role on the team. In that game last week, because the Lions were trailing, I think Gibbs should have been playing every snap. What Montgomery brings to that team is short yardage, goal line. He's a grinder because the Lions play with the lead a lot. That's his role. That's why they resigned him. When you're trailing, you need Gibbs on the field every play because he brings an extra gear where he could have potentially popped runs when given the opportunity that David Montgomery couldn't. So they're my final thoughts on the Lions. That I think there were 2 massive mistakes. Was that play call, the JMO interception throw, and then really you not using Gibbs enough.
Yeah, no, Gibbs was like every time he touched the ball, he was picking up, I don't know, 10, 12 yards, it seemed like. Montgomery, I think, had one good run, but he didn't really look totally himself in that game. They couldn't stop them on 4th down. And, when you turn the ball over that many times, and again, bad call by Ben Johnson. Jameson Williams got to make a better decision, obviously, but he's young. He doesn't have a
quarterback. He's not a quarterback.
Right. And
he doesn't know not to throw that ball.
Right. And I don't know if he's thrown a pass all year, has he?
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of a funky call. And it's interesting now. He goes to the Bears. He stays in the division. So that's going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out. He throws a little shot at LaFleur as well. So that division's got some heat. And also, how about the AFC West with Pete Carroll now?
I mean,
going to Vegas.
How about the coaches in that division?
Yeah.
When you look at the NFC North, they have great coaches, right? You got LaFleur. We think Ben Johnson's going to be good. You have O'Connell. I forget who I'm missing. And Campbell, right? Really up-and-coming young coaches. And then in the AFC West, you got Reed, Carroll, Reed Carroll, Sean Payton, and I'm drawing a blank on and fucking Harbaugh. So then you have the 4 of the best veteran coaches in the league. Like this is incredible.
Yeah, no, that is incredible. And what were the Raiders going to do? I mean, what are they going to bring? Some nobody again, some young guy? I think they need a
the Cowboys.
They need, yeah. I mean, the only thing you could say is what Schottenheimer. At least the offense doesn't change for Dak. But I mean, Schottenheimer is not a head coach. I mean, we'll see what happens.
He's not even a coordinator.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the Cowboys are going to do.
If Marty was still alive, I'd gladly take Marty Ball.
Yeah, is he? Did he pass Marty?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah, I was gonna say maybe bring back the father. Yeah, he was a great coach. He just always came up short in the playoffs, as we all know. All right, but first game we talked about it a little bit, but Washington at Philadelphia. The game is in Philly, Lincoln Financial Field, and it will be the first game on Sunday at 3:00. And this is the 3rd matchup between these 2 teams this year. And the first matchup, you guys remember Daniels hurt his ribs in that Carolina game. Definitely wasn't right. If you guys remember watching that game, he missed a lot of throws. He was throwing dirt balls left and right like McNabb. Wasn't really running the ball that much. But, I mean, it was close at half. It was 7-3. Actually, Washington was winning at half, and it was 10-10 at the end of the 3rd quarter. It really wasn't until the end of the game when Saquon just started going off, which he seems like he does, towards the end of every game, just break some big runs. But he ends up for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. A.J. Brown, 5 for 65. again, Daniels a little bit banged up, 191, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. McLaurin only had 1 catch in that game. And then they play the second time. The first matchup was week 9. The second matchup, 36-33. Washington gets the win. Daniels leads them down the field on the last drive of the game, hits Zacchaeus in the back of the end zone. But Hurts gets hurt early in that game. He comes out. They got to go with Kenny Pickett. But Washington did turn the ball over freaking 5 times. Brian Robinson had 2 fumbles. And Diami Brown had a fumble. And Daniels threw 2 picks himself in that game. Elliott missed another field goal in that game. I think he missed an extra point maybe as well. But Daniels gets it done at the end of the game. I remember Devonta Smith had that huge drop on 3rd and 5, which would have sealed the game. And then Philly kicks the field goal, and then Daniels takes him down the field to walk off to Crowder. But Saquon, he after Hurts left that game, he broke off a 68-yard touchdown with Pickett in. But then after that, they really crowded the box on him, and he really didn't do much. Really rest of the game after that first quarter. So, how much do you really take out of it? I take out of it that Daniels was down in that game. They still put up 33 points against them in that game, and Washington still moved the ball pretty successfully. I mean, Daniels had 5 touchdowns passing. He ran for 81 yards. And McLaurin had 60 yards in a touchdown. He caught a bomb. Diami Brown caught a bomb as well in that game. I think McLaurin beat Mitchell, and Brown beat Darius Slay on a bomb, 2 dots by Jaden Daniels. And that was kind of the coming out game. That was the game where we kind of we felt it a little bit early, but after that game, the way he beat that defense, you kind of got the feeling that this kid could be really, really special. And that's kind of what I said too. Like they had a chance to make a deep run. I didn't think they beat the Lions, but they did. And I think they're very, very live in this game as well. So, Anthony, before I make my pick, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, a couple of significant injuries that I want to talk about that is going to play a role here. What's the status of Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown? We know is that knee of AJ Brown going to, come into play? We don't know if he's just having a bad run, if Philly don't need him, or is this knee really setting AJ Brown back? Also, Jalen Hurts, he might be wearing a brace this week. He's not going to be 100%. How mobile is he going to be? Will Dan Quinn almost go, early in this game, maybe send the house? Let's see how mobile he is, because if Quinn can identify whether or not Jalen Hurts can run early in the first quarter, and he can, then I think that could be a big advantage to the Commanders and how Quinn calls this game. And then obviously on the other side, this is catastrophic. The Cosmi injury, the interior offensive lineman, that's right where Carter lines up for the Eagles. And I think he could potentially be the game changer. If he is in Jaden Daniels' face because Cosmi's out, I think that could give Philly the significant edge. And also, Deron Payne. This is a newer one. Deron Payne, I believe, is a little bit banged up. He might still play, but he's not going to be 100%.
Yeah, he is questionable as well. And I think they did, the Washington defense seems like they're kind of getting a little bit more pressure of late. Obviously, they started out horrible in the season, but Dan Quinn's got these guys playing pretty well. They got the Goff. I mean, they rattled Goff last week. They turned him over a bunch of times. You could tell Goff was a little bit uneasy on some of those passes. Dorrance Armstrong got to him twice. He had 2 sacks last week. So, Lattimore versus AJ Brown, that's going to be an interesting matchup. I don't think Lattimore is the player he once was, but I still think he can make some plays. Frankie Louvu, I believe he had a sack in the first matchup. He'll be coming off the corner for sure. But yeah, Jalen Hurts, I don't know. He had the concussion. Obviously, he's probably over that at this point. But who knows? He could still be possibly feeling the effects of it. And then last week, he leaves the game with a knee injury. So, now he's got to deal with that. And also AJ Brown's been very, very limited in practice with his knee injury, even though he's going to play this week. So, I mean, to me, it comes down to Saquon Barkley. We saw what he did in the first two matchups, and we saw what the Lions did with Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, they absolutely just ran all over them with Jahmyr Gibbs. So I think Saquon Barkley is going to have another big day. It just really comes down to, can they turn Hurts over? Can they slow down this offense? And if they do, I could see Washington coming out, getting up, to an early lead, and we'll see if maybe, they can kind of maybe take Saquon out of the game a little bit, at least earlier. They don't have to rely on Saquon as little much in the run game. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with freaking the Commanders, man. And I actually think they're very, very live to win this game. But give me the 6 all day long. 6.5. You could probably get in some spots. I see BetMGM has 6.5. FanDuel also has 6.5. So I think Daniels is the better quarterback. I think Quinn's the better coach. I think this is a very, very live team. They're ultra confident. Cliff Kingsbury, props to him, because I was down on him. I think he went to Thailand and he really came up with some shit. The one play call I really like was, how they had those 3 receivers out against the Lions, and they threw that screen to McLaurin, and it was like 3-on-1, and they just threw the screen and he just broke that one tackle and he was out. It's like that air raid system that he runs. And then, they got the running back and the inside with the handoff. They run the read option. So they have like 3 options on that play. But yeah, I think he's really doing a great job. Dan Quinn's going for it. He trusts Daniels in big spots. Again, they're converting on 4th down left and right. Zach Ertz is still playing very well. Terry McLaurin, Diami Brown stepping up. Austin Eckler wasn't in the last matchup. He'll be back for this matchup. So yeah, give me the Commanders, and I'm also going to take them on the money line as well. Plus 240 you get on BetMGM.
So I'm not going to be as bold as you. I think Philadelphia wins this game. If this was played in Washington, I think my tune's a little bit different. But this home field advantage for Philly, and I get it. If Philly gets off to a slow start, there is no home field advantage. And if Hurts makes a bad play, they're going to be booing him. But eventually the crowd does make a difference. This is a violent place to play. This is a really tough place to play. And I think the home field advantage this weekend for both teams is going to be significant. But I will take Washington to cover. Now, Philly in the last 10 head-to-head, they're 6-4. They're also 3-1 in their past 4 against Washington. But Washington is 6-2-2 against the spread. Philly has not, outside of November when these two teams played, where Philly covered the 4.5. That was the only time they covered since September of 2022. So Washington, in their past 5, they are 3-1-1. So I think Washington will cover this line. I think they're going to make it a game. I don't see a blowout in either direction. I think this is going to come close. Hopefully it doesn't come down to Jake Elliott, because I don't know if I trust him to win a football game. But I do think Philly's going to do enough to win. And, it comes down to like Jaden Daniels. And I've said it, and he's overcome a lot of talent deficiencies. Outside of McLaurin, nice running back room. I don't like these wide receivers are only going to take you so far. Diami Brown, Zacchaeus, what is Ertz? And Ertz has had a terrific year, but this is the postseason. This is Philly. This is their defense at home. I think it's going to be too much to overcome. If Washington wins, Jaden Daniels is going to have, I don't even know what type of a performance that we will never forget. I think he's going to have to put this team on his back. And he's capable. But again, when it's all said and done, the difference maker is Philly at home and a guy named Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I mean, Saquon, I just see him having a huge day. I mean, and I'm taking that over rushing prop for him, even though it's juiced up. I think last week it was 111. Now it's 125.5, but I'm still going to take it. He'll probably break off a huge run. I mean, his touchdown prop is freaking minus 300 for him to score a touchdown.
Insane.
Yeah. So yeah, he's definitely going to score a touchdown. Most likely is, but over the 125.5 for sure. And then also, the weather's going to be pretty good in this game. There's really no snow, not like last week. Both games had, snow. There's no snow. It's going to be 40 degrees, which isn't bad. 5 to 10 mile per hour winds. I'm taking the over. I feel like, Washington's going to be able to move the ball. Again, the last game, We saw deep shots to McLaurin beating Mitchell. We saw deep shots to Diami Brown beating Darius Slay on both sides of the field. Diami Brown, he was a second or third round pick out of North Carolina. Yeah. This is his third year in the league. And Daniels is just one of those quarterbacks that makes other players better. We see that with Zacchaeus. We see that with Jamison Crowder scoring 2 touchdowns in the last matchup. He's resurrected Zach Ertz's career. Zach Ertz looks good, though. He's making a lot of tough catches. Eckler's back this game. Brian Robinson looked good last game. So I think they'll be able to put up some points. Like I said, I think Barkley's going to pretty much do what he wants. So Philly will put up some points. I'm sure A.J. Brown will have a couple big catches, maybe Devonta Smith. I got to get over that 52.5%. So I'm going Washington plus the 6.5. And then I'm going with the total over 47, which you can catch at Caesars, 47. The rest of the books look like 47.5. And then the Saquon over prop, I like. Daniels over rushing 53.5 as well. Is there any other props you like in this game, man?
Yeah, I'm going to run Saquon over the 125.5 and shop books because I thought DraftKings had him closer to like 129, 130. So this 125.5 is at FanDuel. Now, in the last 10 games, Saquon has hit this line 5 times. So that's 50%. But in the last 5, he has hit in 3 out of 5. So Saquon down the stretch has put this team on his back. And both matchups against Washington, he's gotten over this line, 146 and 150. So I absolutely love the over on Saquon Barkley. We talked about Austin Eckler and his receiving yards at, what is that, 24.5 or 25.5?
20. I got 23.5.
Okay, so we got 23.5. I'm inputting it into my computer, and it looks like in the last 5, he's 2 of 5. In the last 10, he's 5 of 10. He has not hit that line in one game against Philly this year, and the other one he did not play. But if we look at the last 5 games for Austin Eckler, he's gone over this line in 2 straight. So again, he's more involved in games that matter, and obviously in a game like this against a really good Philly front 7, they're going to have to find ways to move the football, and I think Austin Eckler is going to be a big part of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think Eckler will catch some passes. I don't mind that 23.5. And Eckler's looked pretty good this year. A little bit better than last year, obviously, when he had that high ankle sprain. I like B-Rob to get into the end zone, plus 150. I think that's pretty favorable odds. And then I also like Saquon Barkley over the receiving yards, 11.5. Hurts is a little bit banged up with the knee. He's probably going to have to check it down. I think Saquon had a huge catch in the first matchup. I think it was like 30, 40 yards. I think he had 4 catches for like 30 yards last week. So, yeah, I think Saquon over 11.5, get it to your best player by any means possible. I'll take that. And then some defensive props. Last week, we had a couple sack guys. Jared Verse hit plus 190. I think Nolan Smith also hit plus 100. Dorrance Armstrong, 2 sacks last week. He's plus 160. Louisville had a sack in the first matchup when Hurts was healthier, and that's plus 240. So I'm going to take those 2 as well, some defensive props. Go ahead.
I do want to go to A.J. Brown. I get we have the knee issue. He hasn't been doing a lot. Now, he did have that big touchdown drop last week. I think it would have hit his yards as well, but his line is 65.5. And I think that's pretty good value for a player like A.J. Brown. And Philly might have to throw it. If Washington sells out to stop Saquon Barkley and we don't have a very mobile Jalen Hurts, he's going to have to throw the football. A.J. Brown's going to have to step up. This number is not bad. In 32, his last 32 games, he's gone over this line of 65.5, 63% of the time. Now, obviously, this year not great towards the end, but in the last 15 games, he's 60%. Against Washington in his last 4, he's 75%. So he usually steps up against Washington. He's hit lines of 175, 130, 65, and 97. So the one game he missed against Washington this year, it was the hook by a half a point, by a half a yard. So I'm very much in on A.J. Brown. I will also take A.J. Brown to score a touchdown. If A.J. Brown is going to hit that yardage. I think the correlation is that he scores, and that number's plus 140. Pretty good value for A.J. Brown on FanDuel Sportsbook. If you want to take a little bit deeper for A.J. Brown, and you want some decent value for A.J. Brown to score the first touchdown, I just had it in front of me. He's hit that, and I think
Plus 900.
Yeah, and he has a solid hit rate this season. I'm just trying to find it. So A.J. Brown, it looks like I don't have the hit rate in front of me, but it looks like he has scored in 3 out of his past 5 games that he's played. So again, if he gets going in this game, I do like A.J. Brown to score.
Yeah.
What do you think of Hurts before we move off this game? Do we like Hurts to score? Because I talked to Jim Coventry at RotoWire. He thinks if he's not 100% and he's not going to use him with tush push. I kind of think otherwise. Like, this is the
they
playoff,
did it last
right?
week, though. Yeah, they did it last week after he got his knee hurt. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think they got a false start, so that kind of hurt them. But they tried it. They tried it. So yeah, I think they'll try it again. It's minus 135.
Yeah, I'll run that. I think when they're in that striking distance inside the 1 yard line, it's always going to be the tush push. Yeah, and if it's not, then it's going to tell us a lot about Jalen Hurts' injury.
Yeah, for sure. Daniels over 1.5 touchdowns passing, plus 120. Again, he threw 5 the last time these two teams played. So I think that's pretty favorable. I mean, you could even ladder it up maybe to 2 plus to 3 plus is 425 if you want as well. Yeah, and I like Washington too, so it all correlates.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's going to be a very, very interesting matchup, but I agree, it's going to be a close game. The first matchup was close again. It was 7-3 at half. It was 10-10 at the end of the third quarter. Daniels was banged up in that game. That game was in Philly. And now Hurts is banged up. He got hurt in that last matchup, but still, Daniels, what he did to that defense, nobody really did that all year to them.
Yeah.
So they were hitting big shots. They were running the football, and now Hurts is banged up. AJ Brown's banged up. This is a divisional game. This is the third time. I think they have the coaching advantage. I think they have the better quarterback. So it's going to be a tough task to go into Philly as a 6-point dog and pull it off. But I really think, this could be, as Matt likes to say, the team of destiny with the Commanders under this new regime with, Adam Peters and Magic Johnson and Dan Quinn. So yeah, let's go Commanders. We're both on the Commanders in this game. And then also, do you have any thoughts on the total? I like the over 47.
I think it could. If the Eagles win and I'm picking the Eagles to win, then I think it goes under. But if I think Washington wins, then it goes over. So I'm going to take the under because it correlates with my Eagles pick.
All right, cool. We'll make that official. All right, before we get into the next game, Caleb Daniels says Chris Redman or Seneca Wallace. Wow.
Jesus.
I remember using Seneca Wallace in Madden. I think I'd make him when I used to do the franchise in Madden. I'd make Seneca Wallace my backup because he had 85 speed, but he was the worst thrower ever.
God,
Chris Redman, I barely remember. Chris Redman, I think he went to Louisville. I don't think he did shit in the NFL.
Wasn't there a J.R. Redman, or was that a basketball player? Was that J.R. Redick? I don't know.
J.R. Redick. Well, J.J. Redick. Yeah, he's the coach of the Lakers now. Yeah. Nice win for them, by the way, over the Celtics. Celtics lose to the Clippers. Oh no, they beat the Clippers, I think. But anyway, they lose to the Lakers last night. And then Al says, "What's up?" Joe says, I just put together a sick 4-legger with my $10 bonus bet plus 125 G's. He says, "What up?" For the Buffalo Kansas City game. Edward A-Champ 123 says, question, as a Bears fan, what do you think of the Bears? Instead of drafting Will Campbell with the 10 pick, they pick Genty and pick up O-linemen in the later rounds and free agency. Yeah, I mean, they certainly could be going after a running back, given Ben Johnson what he just came from. running the football and, upgrading that offensive line. That's basically what he had. So he's probably going to try to replicate that. You want to protect Caleb. You want to be able to run the football. DeAndre Swift, we saw what he did with the Lions. It was nowhere near what Jahmyr Gibbs did. So, yeah, you could definitely upgrade. And if you can give, a guy like Genty a very good offensive line in the NFL, he didn't play great in that first matchup against Penn State, but he had no holes. There was nothing to run. There was a couple runs where he was pushing the pile, and you could see the strength of him. He's an excellent running back. I'm sure he'll be successful in the NFL. But, yeah, situation matters. If he could somehow end up in Chicago with Ben Johnson, who wants to run the football, will build that offensive line. I think that's the way to go. What do you think?
About Gente going to the Bears?
Yeah, he's saying should they take him over Will Campbell with the 10th pick?
I would say yes. And the reason why, you had dynamic running backs in Detroit, which really helped that offense go. What is the Ben Johnson offense what is it going to look like without that dynamic running back? It's not DeAndre Swift anymore. So I would say, like, if you want the Ben Johnson experiment to, I don't want to say lock, but like really lock it in to be prolific, then you need to get that Gibbs-like player, and that's Genty. Yeah,
and if they want Genty, they could probably trade back. I mean, I don't know how. I want
the Cowboys to get Genty. So
we saw Gibbs go to the Lions. What pick was he? Bijan went what, and then Gibbs was what? They're both in the first round, right? But I don't know if Genty's going to be in the first. Maybe he moves to the second. I don't know. I guess he's projected to go in the first.
Oh yeah, he might be a top 15 pick.
Is that what they're saying? Okay, yeah.
So Gibbs and Bijan were. Gibbs was 12, right. I believe.
Right. Yeah, and Bijan was what, like 7 or something like that.
And plus, with the way the NFL looks, trending back to that running back. Yeah. Running backs do matter. They never not mattered to us.
Yeah.
Here. But, then we can justify running backs going in the first round again. I remember the Lions and foul, especially not so much with Bijan, but the Lions got hammered for taking Gibbs. And then they went and took Campbell, the linebacker, late in the first round. Yeah. They were getting hammered. These are devalued positions. Well, these fucking devalued positions worked out well for Detroit.
Yeah, that was a money move by them, moving off of Swift. And I was questioning at the time myself. But Gibbs has been so good. So, yeah, I mean, you might be able to trade back maybe a couple spots to get Genty still. But, I don't mind Ben Johnson making that move. I'm still sick, man. I had a draft with Saquon, Achane, and Gibbs. And I made the playoffs, and I ended up losing 4th because you know why? My freaking quarterback was Jordan Love, and he just
was your receiver, Michael Pittman?
I had Pickens. He went down. I had Tank Dell. He went down. So that kind of hurt me down the stretch. But, yeah, I mean, I went with those running backs. So I was building different receivers. But Pickens and Tank Dell wasn't bad. I mean, Tank Dell didn't really do much, but then he was starting to come on a little bit.
No, Jordan Love, you're right, probably. Because I had a lot of Jordan Love this year.
Yeah.
Man, never again. Never again.
Yeah, I mean, well, I wouldn't say never again, but there's no way I'm taking him anywhere high. Like, he's going to drop, and he may be a value. Maybe he'll be healthier next year.
The only way I take Jordan Love in fantasy is if they go get him a legitimate wide receiver. And I said this last night, if you listen to me on the XM show, like when I talked about Jordan Love, I just don't think, Jaden Reed's a really nice player, playmaker. He's not an alpha. Neither is Christian Watson. He's close, but he can't stay healthy. They have like their receiver room's a bunch of 2s and 3s. They need an alpha.
It was a weird year for them, though. Like Watson was hurt, and then Dobbs, remember, took off 2 weeks. He was all pissed off, and then Dontavian Wicks dropped 1 million passes. But yeah, I mean, they could use like a more solidified guy. Yeah. But Love was kind of hurt. He had the MCL, he had freaking the elbow injury. It was just kind of a weird year, and they really leaned on Jacobs. So I could see him bouncing back next year, but I'd rather go with those. I'd rather pay the premium and get me a Lamar, get me a Burrow. Get me a Josh Allen and roll that way. Call Saul says, if you like Washington like I do and you want to bet them, I found some alternates to help take some risk off, but still at plus money. All right. Yeah, leave it in the comment. Washington plus 10.5, under 68.5 with Jaden Daniels, 1 passing touchdown and 200 yards plus 129. Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Solid. Okay. The game of the weekend could be the game of the year. The fourth matchup in the playoffs between these two teams will be the Buffalo Bills going to Arrowhead to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. -1.5. This game has so many implications for the career of Josh Allen and Mahomes. Mahomes going for a three-peat. Josh Allen trying to finally unseat the king in Patrick Mahomes. And will he finally do it? Is the big question. Will he finally get over the hump? And, these two teams already played one of the most epic playoff games I've ever seen. The 42-36 game, January 23rd, 2022, divisional game in Arrowhead. We all know the story. We've talked about it many, many times on this show. Gabe Davis, our boy, we love Gabe Davis after that. He never really came into fruition, but he had 4 freaking touchdowns in that game. He was catching bombs, was catching touchdowns left and right. There was 28 points scored in the fourth quarter. The teams are just trading points left and right. And then obviously the Bills get that touchdown with 13 seconds. They get the pass to Tyreek. They get the pass to Kelsey. I was actually watching it last night. I don't know if you've seen it, but Kelsey noticed when they came out in the defense because the Bills called a timeout.
Yes.
They weren't covering him. So he just they basically called it out. It was him and Mahomes playing backyard football, threw him the seam. He got down, and then Buckner kicked a 49-yarder to go into overtime. Then they basically just went right down the field, and Kelsey finishes it off 42-36. They also played earlier 38-24 in the AFC Championship game. The Chiefs won 38-24 in that matchup. When Allen was a little bit more younger and raw. And then finally last year, 27-24 in Buffalo this time, another divisional game. The Chiefs win yet again. We remember that game. Diggs dropped that big pass. I think Trent Sherfield had a couple big drops. Cook had a big drop. And then, the Bills were going for the lead at the end of the game. And Chris Jones kind of stepped on his foot a little bit, pushed back Deion Dawkins, and he missed Gabe Davis. I think it was, it was kind of similar to the touchdown they scored in that previous matchup, the overtime matchup, but they didn't get it. So they kicked the field goal, and then the Chiefs, the Chiefs win it. They get a field goal, and then, Tyler Bass missed the field goal to tie it, and the Chiefs win once again 27-24. So 0-3 in the playoffs, despite his regular season success, but that doesn't mean anything. So, Anthony, I know you're going to pick in this game, but give us your thoughts.
I'm going to keep picking Mahomes until somebody knocks him off the pedestal. And that's where I'm going here. Kansas City wins. They advance to a Super Bowl yet again. In the regular season, Josh Allen seems to beat Patrick Mahomes. But in the playoffs, no matter where they play, Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs, want to rope the referees in there, they find a way. I think this is a pretty even matchup. I don't think Buffalo is a downgrade, right? This isn't a situation where Philly and Washington, where you could say, well, the talent's not there. I think both teams match up really well here. It's another case of the home field advantage in Arrowhead is going to play a role. And I think when it's all said and done, I need to see if Josh Allen goes and pulls out a win here in Arrowhead, beats it, then I'm going to look at Josh Allen completely different. But right now, at least against the Chiefs, Josh Allen has come up short to win these playoff games. Josh Allen, like I said about Jaden Daniels, he's going to have to put the team on his back. He's going to have to be Superman. He's going to have to score a couple of touchdowns on his own if Buffalo is going to win. But this is another game with significant injuries. Taylor Rapp, I believe, has already been ruled out. And I think the corner starts to be, the name is escaping me.
Christian Benford,
yes.
yeah.
If he doesn't play, this secondary is going to be a little bit decimated. And Kansas City has good wide receivers. They don't have to do much a lot of the times, but like you got Worthy, you obviously have Kelsey, you have Noah Gray, Marquise Brown hasn't really made an impact yet, but I think that could be coming this week. So there's just a lot to overcome here from Buffalo. If this defense was fully, and I think Milano's even a little bit banged up with a lower body injury, he's going to play, but there's a lot going against Buffalo. And of course, Travis Kelce, who just looks like a different player yet again, despite his age in the playoffs. You brought something up when you were going over these sequences of games, and you're like, well, Travis Kelce was wide open. Why? What is it with these? We saw it last week again in Houston. What is it with these teams in the playoffs forgetting to cover Travis Kelce? Shouldn't that be your number one thing to do? And Travis Kelce, again, I think he has 4 or 5 touchdowns in the playoffs against Buffalo. So, again, this isn't like, if this was a lot of other situations, right? Like, I think I'm picking Buffalo over most teams outside of Baltimore and Kansas City. So it's just the fact that they're running up against the buzzsaw that's the Kansas City Chiefs this week. And that the Chiefs earned it. They earned the fact that they are very healthy going into this game. And that is having all that time off to rest and having the number 1 seed. So I think that, having the number 1 seed right now, especially if you're Kansas City, I think that's going to be another difference maker because Buffalo comes in here banged up. Kansas City, they get their cornerback Watson, didn't play a lot last week, his first game back. I think they're going to unleash him a little bit more.
Yeah, and against the Texans, I did notice. I went back and watched that game. They ran the same play on the drive. They had Kelsey do a delayed route into the flat, and they didn't cover him both times. And both times it was a first down. So the Chiefs were smart. They noticed the first time they didn't cover him. Like 2 plays later, they ran the same exact play. He's pretending to block. He breaks out into the flat, and he's wide open both plays. And also, you remember that first drive? I think it was. They got that roughing the passer on Will Anderson, which was kind of bullshit. And then the next play action to Kelsey, basically wide open. Otherwise, they probably would have had to punt. Fairbairn had a rough game in that game. He missed a field goal. He had 1 blocked. He missed an extra point. We saw Joe Mixon have some success, though, in that game. They came out in that second half. They had that 16-play drive, and then Mixon finished it off with the touchdown run. But I also did notice that most of the coverage again, no Tank Dell, no Stephon Diggs. It's basically Nico and Mechie, but the coverage was very tight on the Texans receivers. Stroud was hitting a lot of really tight throws. The Texans receivers were making a bunch of big catches. So they played tough, but obviously it was a tough task to go into Kansas City. The Texans, nobody really expected them to win, but you mentioned the Taylor Rapp, Cole Bishop, rookie safety, is going to have to step in. But last year, remember, Ant, they didn't have Benford. They didn't have Milano. They didn't have Von Miller. They didn't have Terrell Bernard. They had A.J. Klein, who they basically called off the street, third down to the third string middle linebacker to go out there and play. They came damn close. Again, that was at home. But also Pacheco has not looked good. He was much better.
Yeah, he's been a non-factor since he's been back.
And he's got that fibula injury that Tony Pollard had.
Yeah.
And we all kind of gave up on Tony Pollard because we thought he was, not really cut out, but I think he just wasn't healthy. And the same goes for Pacheco. Now, Hunt's been solid. He had another touchdown last week. He's had some strong runs. But I think the Bills can at least, I'm not really worried about Hunt and Pacheco. And that's kind of what the Chiefs have wanted to do the past couple seasons is run the football, rely on Mahomes, rely on Kelsey, some trick plays here and there. And, of course, rely on Spagnuolo and their defense. So we'll see what they can come up with. We'll see. Again, they didn't throw to Worthy they didn't throw to freaking Marquise Brown. They didn't throw to Hopkins, or they didn't have a catch, rather. And we'll see if those guys can step up. The last time they faced Kelsey in the regular season, they held him to 2 yards on 4 targets. But, again, it's the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's a different story. He's had a ton of success against them.
What Buffalo has going in their favor and what the Chiefs don't, history doesn't favor the Chiefs. Montana never three-peated. The Steelers never three-peated. The Cowboys never three-peated. The Patriots never three-peated.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think that's significant because sometimes, you know, history continues to repeat itself until it doesn't, and that does worry me. And that should worry Chiefs fans.
Yeah. And, you know, if I was going to make this line, I would say the Chiefs should probably be favored by 3 with, you know, the home field advantage with Andy Reid and Mahomes and, you know, just the Chiefs being home, but it's 1.5. So, you know, I think, and a lot of people are picking the Bills, not just because they think the Bills are better. Maybe, you know, a lot of people feel it, but people are just generally tired of the Chiefs. You see all this on Twitter, the whole world against the Chiefs. You know, it's up to Josh Allen to stop this three-peat. So, yeah, it's going to be tough. You know, they do have some pressure there to get that three-peat. And I was actually thinking about this. It's kind of similar. Jordan, now the Detroit Pistons, and you could say Mahomes is basically the Jordan of the sport. But when Jordan was first playing in the playoffs, he had to go through the Pistons, you know, Lambeer and Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, and he lost to them 3 times in the playoffs. And and the Pistons went back-to-back championships. And then that finally he broke through 91. I think Jordan was 27 years old. Allen is 28 years old. And, you know, maybe Allen, similar to Jordan, finally breaks through on a back-to-back champion and gets his first championship. Similar age, breaking against a 2-time champ, breaking against, you know, the 3rd time losing, the 4th time. I think the Bulls swept the Pistons the 4th time they played them in the playoffs. Then Jordan obviously went on to win 3 in a row. But, you know, just a little bit of a similarity there that I noticed. So, yeah, I'm taking Buffalo plus the 1.5. I think it's, you know, it's kind of cliche, but I think it's the Bills' time. You know, they had all the freaking history with the 3 Super Bowl losses in a row or 4 Super Bowl losses in a row. You know, absolute travesty. It's 3 Super Bowls in a row, right?
4.
What the hell? I can't believe I didn't. Yeah,
Giants,
4 in a row.
Washington,
Cowboys twice, Giants, and
Thurman Thomas lost his helmet.
Right. By the way, breaking news, Anthony.
Yeah, I know.
You seen it?
Fucking say it. You can say it. I don't.
Cowboys do indeed hire the man, the myth, the legend, Brian Schottenheimer. Your reaction, Ant, live on air with this one.
I almost want to just become a Jets fan at this point.
No, you don't, bro.
I do.
I do like the Aaron Glenn. I'm happy about my signing. That's for sure.
Can you imagine? Like, I have nothing good to say about. And I love Marty Schottenheimer. I wish he was still alive. I wish maybe they can have a seance and have him coach the team from the underworld. But Brian Schottenheimer, he hasn't done a damn thing as an offensive coordinator. He's been terrible. This has to be the worst head coach signing since Chan Gailey. And if you're a Cowboy, I mean, Chan Gailey, I forgot who he followed, but like, you know, that was like that was a really bad run for the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm afraid that we are looking as Cowboys fans with Washington ascending. Philly ain't going anywhere. You know, if the Giants find a quarterback, they have some talent with Brian Daboll. This could be a really rough few years for the Dallas Cowboys. I have zero hope for this team.
Gailey fouled Switzer, but there was one worse. I think Dave Campo was worse. Right?
I think Campo and Chan Gailey are right there with each other.
But Campo, at least Gailey was 18 and 14. Campo was 15 and 33. I think those are like the Quincy Carter years, right?
Yeah.
Drew Henson.
Jesus.
So yeah, breaking news there: the Cowboys hire Brian Schottenheimer.
You couldn't bring back Garrett, for Christ's sake.
I mean, he was 85 and 67. So he had a 55% winning percentage. Wade Phillips.
You know, if they go out and get Genty, if they go out and bring, like, you know, I'll take Najee. He's a free agent. Like, if they go bring in some talent, fine. But if Jerry's going to pull the same shit he did last offseason and then give us Brian Schottenheimer, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah, it's gonna be real interesting to see how it all works out with them. They're gonna have to make some big moves as well. We'll see what they do with the draft and free agency, but we'll be talking about all of it. But back to the pick, I'm going with Buffalo. Anthony's taking the Chiefs. I'm taking Buffalo plus 1.5. If you, I think you can find two in some spots. Yeah, Bet 365, Caesars, and DraftKings actually 2.5 now, so you could actually buy it up to 3. I feel really good about that. But yeah, I'll take them on the money line too. I think Buffalo's going to win the game. I just think you got Josh Allen. If they don't ever win a Super Bowl with this guy, I don't think the Bills will ever win a Super Bowl. The fact that you had the 13-second game, even last year with all those drops and the way, the missed field goal at home. They went to the DeMar Hamlin thing. I just feel like it's Buffalo's kind of time. And you said it, Anthony, it's hard to three-peat. We had some really good quarterbacks. Never did it before. So, and I think the Bills are a better team. And I think Allen is as good as he's ever been. I think the Bills are probably as good as they've ever been. And this is not the best version of the Chiefs we've ever seen either, especially when, and remember, no L'Jarius Sneed on defense. Pacheco is not the same. So I think that hurts the running game. So yeah, give me the Bills. As far as the total, 48.5. I don't really want to mess with it. The weather is, again, it's going to be fine. I mean, it's going to be pretty cold, 32 degrees, but no winds, no precipitation. So it's going to be a pretty nice day on Sunday night, rather. So I want to take the over. I'm kind of leaning that way. If you give me 48.5, I don't know. I don't feel strong about it right now, so I can't say. So I'm just going to take Buffalo. I'll just go with the 3 picks. Any props you like, you're in?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious one for me here is Josh Allen to score a touchdown. He almost had the trifecta plus 4,500 last week, but he did cash 1 and 2. I might ladder the 3 again. I'm obviously more confident in him to score 1 and 2. But again, I think if Buffalo wins, we could be looking at a hat trick from Josh Allen. So I love him to score 1 and 2. 1 is actually playable minus 115. Josh Allen for 2 plus 600. And then for 3, plus 3,500. So I would go like a quarter of a unit on the 3, but I'm pretty confident going 2 units on Josh Allen to score 1 and then up to 1 unit. Usually I would go a half a unit on the second level ladder. I might go up to a unit because I do think Josh Allen finds the end zone twice. I'll go with Travis Kelce to score a touchdown, and I will also go with Travis Kelce's yards. Kelce in the playoffs, he's different. Kelce against Buffalo, he's different in the playoffs. And I think he scored 4 or 5 touchdowns in his career against the Buffalo in the playoffs, plus 120 odds. I'm actually, I love that for a unit, and his receiving yards prop is 67.5. I'm pretty comfortable that he goes over that. He's going to have to, I think, if Kansas City is going to win this football game, they need, he's their go-to guy. He's their improv guy when Mahomes gets out of the pocket. So I'm expecting a big game out of Travis Kelce as well. So those are my 3 best props in this game. Kelce yards, Kelce touchdown, Allen for 2 and 3. Ladder that. Receptions wise, I like Dalton Kincaid over 3.5, and I do like Dawson Knox. I like the number at 1.5 at minus 114. I think both of these tight ends are going to be involved, so I don't mind getting Kincaid at 3. You get plus money if he goes over 3.5 receptions, and then almost even money, minus 114 for Knox to get 2. So I love both tight ends. Kansas City's not been great against the tight end position this year.
Yeah, we took Schultz last week, and he had that prop early. He went 4 for 63, had a couple big catches, but you're right. I mean, they were in fantasy 24th best, 24th worst against tight ends. So yeah, it's just weird. Like, you just don't know who the hell's going to catch the ball on Buffalo. You don't know if it's going to be Shakir. Cooper's not really running the snaps. It's most likely it's going to be Shakir or maybe Keon Coleman, but it could be Mac Hollins. It could be Curtis Samuel. It could be Dalton Kincaid. But yeah, with the way that the Chiefs are playing against tight ends, I don't mind that. And yeah, I'm going to go with the Allen rushing touchdown. I know I think it started at like minus 110. Now I just said it was minus 130. It's already minus 135. It just seems like a gift. Like they get just like the tush push, they get inside that 5. The chances of Allen scoring a touchdown are like freaking almost 95% basically. The Ravens did actually do a pretty good job. They stopped him on a couple runs last week, especially at the end of the game. They tried to run that one play. I think there was a little bit of a screw up and they ended up kicking the field goal. But yeah, minus 135. Also, Allen, again, I'll take the over passing touchdowns, 1.5. And then I'm trying to think of a Kansas City receiver to go over their prop. I mean, we saw Bateman.
I think it's Marquise Brown.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Hollywood too. Over 38.5. He's 10 less than Worthy. So a little bit more value. I mean, he could go down to Hopkins, 22.5, but he's not doing shit. He's running the least amount of routes. So I think Hollywood would probably be the guy. I agree. 30.5. We saw Bateman, have a couple big catches. Also likely had a nice game. Even Andrews would have had a bigger game if he didn't drop a pass, fumble, drop the touchdown at the end or the 2-point conversion at the end too. So, the Kelsey one doesn't look bad for sure. I'm trying to see if there's anything else here as far as props. You got anything else?
No, I was just looking into, Knox has actually gone over 1.5 receptions 60% of the time in his past 10. And then two of three in the past 3 against Kansas City, and Kincaid 2 of 2 against Kansas City. So these tight ends, like that, Josh Allen likes to use his tight ends against the Chiefs.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Kincaid as well. I feel like they need to kind of utilize him. I think he can win some of those matches. They saw Schultz. They saw the success they had. Yeah. I'm sure they've been watching the tape all year, going back and watching all week rather, and seeing tight ends have a success. So, yeah, maybe Kincaid gets involved here. Allen over 47.5 rushing yards. I mean, like, this is the game of all games, right? So, like, this is the game you would think he would have a big day rushing. Obviously, he had that huge run at the end of the regular season game, to kind of seal it on 4th down, seal that game, and go up 10. So I'll probably throw something on that. James Cook was kind of slowed down in the first matchup. I think he only had 29 yards, but 53.5. I'm kind of tempted to take that too. I feel like Buffalo is really going to just try to come out and freaking run the football. Once again, if they have success, they're just going to keep going to the well over and over and over again. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't really see anything else here as far as props.
No, and Allen has gone over that rushing yard line of 47.5 in his last 2 games against Kansas City, going for 55 and 72. But he has not hit that line in his last 5 and only 40% in his last 10, 33%, 5 of 15 in his last 15. But again, if there's a matchup, it happens. It's here.
Yeah. I mean, he's not quite running like he used to in the past. He's looking for the pass more so.
Yeah.
But still, the attempts maybe is something you could look at as well, especially with the goal line carries. That helps. But kneel downs could, and then you get the kneel downs; those count as well. Mm-hmm. So the rush attempts is another one, and then also the Mahomes over 4.5 attempts. He's done that in every playoff game against the Bills.
Yeah. So
that's another one. That sounds good. Again, that could be kneel downs for the Chiefs as well. So, yeah, that about does it. To recap, I'm taking the Commanders plus the 6, as is Anthony. Anthony's taking the Chiefs. Also, I'm taking the over in the Commanders Philly game, over 47. Did you say you were taking the over in that game as well?
In Philly, I'm taking the under. If Philly wins, I think it goes under. Yeah.
The under. And then Anthony's taking the Chiefs. Did you have a pick on the over under?
I like the under in both. And I'm an over better in everything. I like the unders this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be a ton of intensity. Despite the weather being pretty pristine, there's going to be a shitload of intensity. I think the first game has a better chance going over than the second game. But, so Anthony likes the unders. I'll take the over in the first game. The second one, I don't really have a play right now, so I can't throw it out there. But I'm taking the Bills. Anthony's taking the Chiefs. Then we got a bunch of props that we put out. If you had to pick one prop for the weekend or just pick one prop in each game that you like the best, which one would you pick?
Josh Allen to score and Jalen Hurts to score.
Okay.
I think both quarterbacks find the end zone.
Yeah, I like that. I got to go with the Allen too. I mean, you're playing a little bit of juice minus 130, but I feel like that's got to be it. And then the other one, I'd go with Saquon over 125.5. I just feel like
Mm,
Saquon's the machine, man.
yeah.
Actually, there was I was listening to a podcast. It was very interesting. And they were talking about how the Commanders, are basically on their fourth road game in a row. And like by the fourth quarter, and we've seen it in these games, Saquon at the end of the game, he's breaking off these big runs. So
Mm,
like the fourth quarter spread might lean to the Eagles a little bit, especially if you like the Eagles.
yeah.
That might be a good time to pound the Eagles in the fourth quarter. All right, but that's it, guys. So we'll be back for the Super Bowl. We're going to take a couple weeks off, but we'll have some shows in between. I think
Yeah,
we got
of course.
a 2024 recap show possibly coming up, maybe a way too early mock draft coming up. So, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, hitting the share button, hitting the notification button. A couple comments before we go from some guys. Joe Carlton says, Schottenheimer, how we feeling, Anthony?
Not well. Not well.
Trove 4 says Cowboys wanted McCarthy back and he walked. Easy B says my QBs are Herbert, Love, and Nix. Just moved Love and a 26th third for JJ McCarthy and a Dunze. Thoughts?
I don't hate that. You're getting a Doomsday with Keenan Allen potentially not coming back. An offense that could finally click with Ben Johnson. I think a Doomsday is the part I like. And if JJ McCarthy works, I mean, Sam Darnold worked in that offense. So if JJ McCarthy is any good, then you could have just locked yourself in a quarterback one for the future.
Yeah, I'm not the highest on a Dunze, but you got to think that with Ben Johnson in town
Yeah.
now, things should definitely get better. And Keenan Allen, we'll see if he even comes back, right? I don't know if he's
Yeah.
coming back. Joe Carlton says Kelsey knocks Cooper touchdowns with Worthy plus 25 rushing yards, pretty decent home run swing. And Joe says big win, easy in that trade. Easy B says thanks. Was nervous, seemed too obvious, though I was overthinking it. And Blake Borovitz says, what's Patty's passing yard projections?
His line is 252.5.
Yeah, I have 256.5 minus 115. What number do you got? 252.5 minus what?
Minus 114.
So you have better than me. Yeah, I don't know if I see that. I don't know. I can't see Mahomes. I would actually probably take that under. I don't know.
Yeah, he's 1 for 3 in his past 3 against Buffalo.
Yeah, I don't like that. All right, that's gonna do it. Again, guys, like, subscribe, share. We will be back very, very shortly. For Anthony and myself, enjoy the games this Sunday. It's going to be a hell of a ride. It's been a hell of a season. And we'll be back next week for more fantasy football, NFL discussion. Take care.